The stars have aligned! They show me your fate! It is ghastly!
Middle-earth's Shadow of Mordor is shaping up to be one of the most ambitious titles Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment has ever published. Developed by Monolith, the studio behind the Fear franchise and Guardians of Middle-earth, the open-world sandbox action-adventure game brings the lore of the beloved world of J.R.R. Tolkien to life with meticulous detail and striking innovation.
Too high! Uruk not reach! Come down!
The game follows the story of Talion, a ranger who loses his family and his own life at the hands of Sauron's forces at the Black Gate. A vengeful spirit we now know as the elf wraith Celebrimbor brings Talion back from the dead to help discover the origins of the Rings of Power and ultimately confront Sauron and his black captains.
Gonna make a lovely necklace from your teeth!
At a recent press event at the Monolith offices outside of Seattle, we were allowed to get a detailed hands-on look at the game, including combat, traversal, the skill tree, and its innovative Nemesis System. Since the game was announced, the Nemesis System has been a pillar of gameplay. It's a complex web of interactions between the enemy AI and the player.
Mad swine! You were lucky to outrun me before. This time you're not going anywhere.
The Nemesis System is so vast, you could traverse through the open world with virtually endless amounts of interactions and activities to complete. The development team at Monolith said they have 3 tenets for the system. First, there would be no generic cannon fodder, meaning any enemy can have an interaction with you and eventually become promoted through the ranks to become a sub-boss. Second is the idea of memory and how enemies build stories and relationships with you throughout your playthrough. Lastly is the concept of moving the world forward through death. Dying in Shadow of Mordor actually enhances the story instead of setting you back by having enemies react to you and thus fight you differently after you've died by their hands. It was surprising just how many different personalities the player can encounter and the level of detail the Nemesis System provides you with. Each enemy has a name, an identity, motives, strengths, and weaknesses. Some enemies are vulnerable to certain types of combat, like stealth finishing moves or mounted beasts. Others have fears, like burning, or other enemies in the world, like graugs or ghouls. They also have corresponding strengths, like health regeneration or charge attacks. When you finally engage with the foes you've researched, some of them will fight to the death, others beg for mercy, and yet others will just flee. You can choose to kill your enemies and pick up runes from their corpses, or you can choose to use your Wraith abilities to dominate them. Once they're dominated, you can use them to infiltrate or gain intel on Sauron's forces. You can also command them to murder other enemies that stand in your way on the path to finding Sauron's 5 black captains, thus creating a power struggle. Ultimately, you need to fight your way up through the war chiefs to the black captains on Talion's quest for revenge.
I would ease this pain. Let your race inherit it.
Combat will be the primary way you get there. The combat in Middle-earth combines a basic melee brawler system with supernatural wraith abilities. While on the ground, you can use your sword or dagger to fight enemies. These are the only 2 melee weapons you'll ever use, but they can be upgraded by collecting various runes and unlocking abilities in the skill tree. Each rune has a different buff and a different level ranging from 1 to 25, thus providing thousands of possible combinations. When you look at your runes in the menu system, it'll show what power the rune has, such as the power of the Earth rune that recovers focus on a ground execution, or Grim Resolve that buffs defense from ranged attacks. It also shows you the enemy you killed to gain that rune in a trophy system of sorts. When you no longer want a rune, you can destroy it to earn Mirian, the in-game currency, which can also be earned from artifacts found in the world. While in combat, your focus meter rebuilds as you land strikes and can be used to perform executions and wraith moves. These wraith skills provide a fresh dynamic to combat that would otherwise become very repetitive, and they can also help get you out of tight situations. Your third weapon, the bow, is usable in Wraith mode and can be leveled up through runes like the sword and dagger. The Shadow Strike ability allows you to teleport attack an enemy, or Shadow Strike Kill allows you to execute an enemy from afar, something very useful while trying to be stealthy. You can also use your Wraith abilities to dominate certain animals in the world to use them as mounts, something that can be done on the ground or ranged through Shadow Mount.
Pull him off his beast!
Using mounts like Graugs and Caragors increases movement speed and destruction. Both can climb walls like Talion, which is not only powerful, but just as much fun as it looks. When you dismount, the dominated creature will continue to fight for you until all enemies are dead or until it's killed. There's no health regeneration system. You'll need to find herbs or flowers in the environment to rebuild your health, but again, death is used as a vehicle to propel the story. The traversal system is very intuitive, with climbing similar to Assassin's Creed or Infamous. You can use certain methods to stealth your way into strongholds, which is an important part of gameplay because once the alarm is raised at a fort, it's incredibly difficult to fight your way out without outright fleeing. You can use certain elements in the world to your advantage, such as dropping a wasp's nest as a distraction, or poisoning a grog barrel to slowly kill off enemies, or cause them to fight each other. But you'll need to focus on your target and objective to succeed.
There! A target!
After discussing the lore with the team at Monolith several times, it's clear that they're taking painstaking care to make sure that they stay true to the Tolkien canon, while also putting their stamp on the project. At Gamescom, they showcased Gollum, a key character who interacts with Celebrimbor, not dissimilar to Frodo and Gollum's interaction in The Lord of the Rings, with Talion playing the role of Sam.
I'll cut that Caragor's tail off as a trophy, along with your ears.
Considering that fans of the Tolkien books and movies know where the story ultimately leads, it could be assumed that the outcome of the story is inevitable. But lead game designer Bob Roberts said, "The notion we know how it's going to end is true only in a very high-level abstract sense. The journey that takes you there has a lot more room to tell a story than people assume. There are certainly some things we're explaining that make things make a lot of sense that were otherwise unexplained. Even the most dedicated Tolkien fans will be surprised and hopefully excited about some of the things they'll find." While that remains to be seen, what we did learn from our time with the game is that Monolith has created an extensively complex structure of interactions with the Nemesis System that offers a unique gameplay experience for each individual player. How you proceed through the storyline will ultimately be your choice, but it's guaranteed not to be identical to anyone else's experience. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor releases on September 30th for Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS3, PS4, and PC.
Mansfield!